Sure, I want the war to end too, but do I think Vladimir Putin is going to get us to liberty and freedom?
Well, wait,
no.
let me play this out, actually. So you think we cannot negotiate with Putin? Who are we supposed to talk to? There's two parties in the war.
Ukrainians are supposed to
we are
negotiate
talking to
with the
Zelensky.
Russians.
They have been talking. We have been providing weapons to the Ukrainians. We cut a deal to do it through NATO, which was a good thing. We have the relationship channel open with the Ukrainians. In order to end this, there's no one else to talk to unless you want to invade Russia and overthrow the government. But I don't think anybody wants to do that.
That's Scott Jennings reminding CNN's professional panic merchants that their version of foreign policy is just an endless loop of complaining with no off-ramp, unless it's an off-ramp straight into another forever war. And of course that means no matter what Trump does, they'll cry foul. Welcome to Nerk News, I'm Nerkish, and it looks like CNN's meltdown machine is firing on all cylinders over President Trump's upcoming summit with Vladimir Putin in Alaska. Because heaven forbid we try actual diplomacy instead of writing blank checks for another quagmire. You know, Trump's not bending the knee here, he's feeling out a deal that could end the bloodshed and save Americans billions. Here's Scott Jennings dismantling their Putin puppet talking points in real time.
It's not how it works.
And side with our friends.
I do want to bring up. I want to bring up 2 points.
Is that so crazy to side with the good guys and not the bad guys? Is that impossible to say in 2025?
We're not siding with anyone. We're trying to end a war.
No,
between
Trump
two
is
parties.
obviously taking the Russian position.
Was he siding with the Russians when he cut a deal with NATO to put more weapons into Ukraine? Didn't sound like it to me.
He doesn't have to do it. There are no conditions we're aware of at this moment. Is that concerning?
Yes,
It's
all very concerning.
I think it's all good that they're meeting. I don't know why anybody at this table would say it's a bad thing that they're sitting down and having these discussions. If
Because
you know,
Ukrainians are not
yes,
at the table.
there might be they may have their opportunity, right? But for now, having President Trump and Vladimir Putin sitting down and having these discussions that could lead to peace in that region is a good thing. Now, right, Russia was the aggressor. We have to acknowledge that. Russia was the aggressor. And for that, should we be rewarding them with additional land? Well, in order to get to peace, I'd say probably as long as you have some investment from Europe, coming in and, trying to protect the deal, and I think they'll have to pay for it on their own. These European countries have to participate in this. I think there has to be something in it for the United States too, right? We've invested so much into Ukraine. We have to get something back out of it. That has to be something that guarantee you that President Trump is going to be looking at American interests as it relates to that. So if we could get to a point where the fighting stops and there is a deal to be had, I think it's a pretty good. I think it's
that's
progress.
a lot of ifs. And
they have to sit down in order to do that. For you to just say, well, he shouldn't be meeting with them, I think is ludicrous.
You heard the president say he has other things in mind, but I just think prejudging this as a failure a week before the meeting even happens is
we sit at
totally
the table
irresponsible.
and prejudge.
No,
We
it's
actually get paid to prejudge.
accurate, and it's
Listen.
actually very
And what's the
predictable.
alternative? Just to let them go on forever?
No, the alternative is to support the Ukrainians in their fight for sovereignty.
I mean, this is what passes for analysis on CNN. Smug panelists who still treat the RussiaGate hoax like it's gospel, pretending Trump's meeting is some coded signal of loyalty to the bad guy. Jennings is right to push back hard here. These people are allergic to facts that don't fit the narrative. Trump armed Ukraine more than Obama ever dared, approved billions in air defense sales, and boosted NATO's arsenal so our allies could send weapons without draining ours. And yet the establishment media can't acknowledge any of it. They'd rather cling to the same discredited Steele dossier mindset that the Durham report torched. This isn't about security or strategy, it's about keeping the war machine running and the fear dial cranked to 11. Here's Dana Bash proving the point when she tries and fails to paint Trump as Putin's next pawn.
Can I ask you a fundamental question? Does President Trump believe that he can trust Vladimir Putin?
Again, I think it's Ronald Reagan taught us you have to trust but verify. And so I think in any situation with competing national interests, whether it's the United States, Ukraine, Russia, or any of our allies, you just can't take people at their face value. You're going to look at actions. And I think that's one of the things that is President Trump has mentioned is that he would have a good conversation with Vladimir Putin. And then that night, rockets and drones would attack the major cities in Ukraine. And so it's going to be about actions. Words are cheap. But in this case, whether it's the Russians or the Ukrainians, both sides are going to have to take the actions to have peace and to continue to honor that peace. And I pay very close attention to a lot of the conflicts around the world. And in each case where President Trump has come in and helped negotiate a resolution of it, it has been a verification that the hostilities have concluded. And whether it's India, Pakistan, whether it's the Congo and Rwanda, or all the other peace deals that President Trump has been able to negotiate, there's always a verification. You cannot just completely trust words on a sheet of paper. But right now, we're in the talking phase, and that's I think where we need to start having the technical experts on both sides actually putting a peace deal on paper. And I think this Friday could be an important step to get that done.
President Trump hasn't publicly offered any kind of security assurances or arms sales to Ukraine. Let's just start there. Could that happen?
Remember, a couple of weeks ago, we did agree to sell U.S. armaments, which are the best. And it's one of the reasons that, quite frankly, Vladimir Putin wants the meeting, is because U.S. equipment is now moving to Ukraine, being purchased by our European and Canadian NATO allies. And that's a big step. And obviously the sanctions and the tariffs that were placed on India, I think also brought Vladimir Putin to the table.
The reality is Trump's the only leader at that table with both the backbone and the leverage to force progress. This Putin's puppet bit is recycled garbage from the same Clinton-era smear merchants who weaponized the intel community against him. The Biden-Harris crew has burned through $182.8 billion chasing a proxy war that's boosted Russia's GDP while gutting ours. Trump's putting an end to it, using diplomacy, not endless taxpayer giveaways. That's why this Alaska meeting matters, and why the people screaming loudest are the ones most invested in keeping the war going. But let me know what you think. Is Trump's Putin meeting the bold peace move America needs? And will the media spin it no matter what happens? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. That stuff really does help us out. Until then, this has been Nerk News. Thanks for watching. Bye.